I made a short video about this, and there's been videos in the past, but I felt like I needed more time than 60 seconds to get this message out. So I don't know who's going to see it, who's going to hear it, but I just wanted to take time to talk about it. I don't like giving my step cousin any airtime on my channel because it just pushes his name out there more and his story more and brings more attention to his lies. In 2017, Joe Ludington leaked a fake recipe on a napkin out of a scrapbook in the Sanders Cafe to the Chicago Tribune. Now, before I knew anything like I know now, I believed it. I believed it could be it. I didn't even pay attention to any of the misspells. As years went on, I started doing what I do. His family started commenting on my stuff, and they invited me out, and then, it turned out he was a liar, and they didn't want to see my family, and I ended up not wanting to see him, blah, 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 that drama, whatever, throw it away. I'm giving you that backstory so that you understand some things. I've also had other in-laws claiming to have the recipe as well and trying to post it on the internet. What I do know for a fact that none of the blood relatives of the family actually have the recipe or have tried to post it acting like that they do for attention, like the in-laws have. The first thing everybody needs to understand is Colonel Sanders did not have a will when he died. And 90% of these people who are saying they got the recipe, whether it's in-laws, whether it's franchisees, whether it's an old friend of his or whatever, they say that it was left to them after he died. He did not have a will when he died. Nothing was left to the family. Now, Claudia did get a part of the estate. I think that's because she was his wife. Most of his stuff was auctioned off. His money was given to charities. The daughters had to sue Claudia for a child's portion of whatever was left. The grandchildren I spoke to in recent years, they claim they don't have the recipe, and I believe them. Lee's side of the family says they don't have the recipe except for one person, and I can believe that they have it if the rumor is true. The rumor is that Lee knew the recipe and had his hand in mixing it, and he wrote it down and saved it. Now, this rumor is spread around Lee's Famous Recipes Corporation that their recipe is actually the original recipe, but it's not. Because in 1966, when he started Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, he was sued by Kentucky Fried Chicken. The lawsuit stated 5 key ingredients could not be used in his chicken seasoning. It stated that my uncle James Sanders could not be used in his advertisement. It stated that Cousin Lee could not wear a beard, a tie, or a suit in his advertisements, and also stated that Cousin Lee could not use any other close relatives of the Colonel or the Colonel himself in his advertisements or depictions of him. And it also stated that he could not use tarragon flavored vinegar or tarragon in his coleslaw. You can look that up, and I've posted videos about it on here before. And I'll be posting the stuff in the community tab as well if you're interested in seeing that. So, if Lee actually saved the recipe like it's rumored, it wasn't spread around Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken as their seasoning. It's a completely different seasoning they use. It's similar, actually, but it's different. I can believe Lee's side has Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken seasoning. I could believe that one person might have the recipe or half of the recipe. And the only reason why I say this is because when I came on the internet and I was bent on debunking the fake recipes, I said that nobody in the Colonel's family has a recipe. Well, lo and behold, some people in the family insisted on commenting on my page, which contradicted what I said. So now I need to come out and say this part. One person might have it. If Lee actually saved it, when Lee died, he left everything to his 2 children. It was split among his children. I could believe that both his kids had half the recipe if he saved it. I could believe that one of his kids had the recipe if he saved it. I haven't seen confirmation or proof, and I don't really want to see the confirmation or proof, but because the comments were made on my page and it confused people, I'm making the truth now. His son has since passed away. Don't know what happened to the things he had. His daughter is still alive, and if she does have the recipe or any part of it, she is not going to share it. She's even said that she will not share it. She knows what the repercussions for Kentucky Fried Chicken could be if she shares it. She knows that she can't sell it. So, and the only value it holds is sentimental value if she has it, because it came from her father. Now let's get into who mixed the recipe. Claudia Sanders, the Colonel's second wife, was in charge of mixing the recipe for the suppliers, or for the franchisees, my bad. The franchisees at Kentucky Fried Chicken would order the seasonings from the Colonel when he owned it, and the Colonel would have this big drum on the back porch of his home, and they'd have a big snow shovel that they would stir it with. They would stir the recipe in bulk in there, and then Claudia would package it up, and that would be shipped out to the franchisees. Lee was having a hand in this. So did my Uncle Jim. Some of the nephews did play around with it with Claudia when they came to visit. Lee became the president of KFC. Uncle Jim became the brand ambassador for a short time, and he was a franchise operator in Seymour and Columbus, Indiana. So I can believe that they had knowledge. I can believe that people, and I know for a fact that people in the family in the past before the bulk suppliers came knew the recipe because Uncle Harley needed help making it. I could believe Josephine knew the recipe. I could believe that she knew the recipe because she knew the Colonel. She was married to the Colonel. They were working in the Sanders Cafe together, making the seasoning for the Sanders Cafe. They divorced. Could she have written it down? Yes. Could she have passed it around the family? Yes. Do I believe that she did that? No. But I don't know for a fact. But when people come out onto my page and they're saying, we have the recipe, the Colonel left it to us, and as well, so I can't really believe that Josephine just passed it around the whole family, but I wasn't there to know that for a fact. But when these people from that family come to my page and they comment and they insist that they have the recipe, but they won't post what it is, but they're publicly insisting that they have the recipe, I'm skeptical about it. I don't believe it. Because if they're so sure that they want to spread that they have it, why aren't they doing what Joe Ledington did and leaking it on the internet? There's so many people that claim to have the recipe. There's so many people that say that they have it from the Colonel, from this, from that. There's just too much of it out there. I could tell you for a fact the Sanders side of the family does not have the original recipe. The recipe that I leaked has been based off of public information. It wasn't even a leak. It was my research and my theory. And I believe it's the closest one to it. Now, a few years ago on TikTok, I got tired of people saying Joe Ledington was the real nephew. Here's his recipe. Or this is the recipe, that's the recipe, there's the recipe. I got tired of it. And people were on my case. So I made a video saying, oh yeah, Joe Ledington's recipe's right. It was all satire. I labeled it as satire. It went viral. And people say you're going to get sued. And I knew I wasn't going to get sued for it. So I made a video as another satire joke pretending that I was being sued. And I doubled down on a biscuit recipe that's been in existence and public knowledge from KFC for over 60 years. And people loved it. They thought it was hilarious. MASH did an article about me. They got some things wrong on it, but they made sure to put in there that it was a satire skit that was completely fake, made up for enjoyment. And also to promote the brand's recipe book that they did sell. And it also brought me a platform to be able to tell enough people the truth about Ledington's recipe and the truth about the family. And that's when people start making comments. My point is, if you're from my family or a distant family and you're claiming you have the recipe, post it. Don't be afraid to do it. Just post it. Post it on my page and I'll see if it matches what I found in public domain. There's a lot of ingredients in public domain. The only thing we don't know are the measurements. KFC even posted a sketch drawing of the recipe. Who drew it? I don't know. I don't know who drew it. Not everybody in KFC knows what the recipe is. Only the hierarchy does. And for crying out loud, it's made in 2 separate factories, or at least it used to be. I don't know if Griffith Laboratories actually makes half of it or not, because I know that McCormick is the main supplier for it. Now, Sexton and Staines used to supply it before them, and then it was Claudia Price. Or Claudia Sanders, depending on how you look at it. I could believe Joe Ledington was visiting and he dabbled around in it. He knew about the white pepper. But if you go to the Sanders Cafe and you go to the back of the spice room, they have a packaging of the original recipe from the 1960s and publicly listed. It says white and black pepper on it. So it doesn't matter whether he was there or not. That's the only thing that he could have gone back there or looked at it himself, since he lives in Corbin and he was in the museum. He saw white pepper listed. Well, it must be in it. It was been public listing since the 60s, folks. So he uses the one thing that's publicly listed and says, oh, I remember that being used in the most underappreciated spice of them all. I could appreciate that statement that it's the most underappreciated spice, because even I myself didn't think it added any value, but it's obviously in it because it's publicly listed. Joe's recipe had a misspell on it. He included salt as one of the 11. It's not one of the 11. And when I called some of these people out on their lies, they started lying about Uncle Harley in a bad light to try to slander his name to get them more attention. So, anyways, I'm telling you this story because I felt like I needed more than 60 seconds to talk about it. I don't like giving the liars any airtime on my channel because it just pushes their story out and their lies out and gives them more attention. There's no such thing as bad publicity. Sometimes it's better to take the higher road, which is why I'm not going to be fixated on this a whole lot. I've made several videos about it to try to push the truth out there, and I'm just hoping that people push the truth out there. If the Colonel's family has it, one person has it, and it will die with them. But all these people going around saying they have it, they have it, they have it, she has it, he has it, I just find that hard to believe. The Colonel's own grandchildren don't have it. And the recipe was nailed to the door jamb of the old gas station where Margaret and Mildred remember it being nailed up to for them to use. I mean, for all I know, maybe Uncle Harley's first wife does have it, or did have. She's dead now. Maybe she did leave it in her will if she had one. I don't know much about the King side of the family. Maybe she did leave it for her family to have, but I wouldn't be going around the internet bragging about having it and not posting proof about it because it makes you look like you're seeking attention for it. I really don't like this holding it over other people's heads that you have the recipe or not. So maybe more people do have it, but there's just a lot of hesitation for me to believe it, because I've come across so many people who have lied, especially like Leddington, who have lied about having this thing. And it really doesn't matter who has it now, because you can't leak it. If you leak it, KFC, they can't really do anything other than deny. They could deny it. If you say that you have it and you're not leaking it, KFC can gag order you like they did the Settles family in 2001 until they could determine whether you have it or not. They could gag order you not to be able to say that you have it. TikTok, I was able to reach 6 million people to show them that this recipe was bullcrap. YouTube, I have not had the pleasure of having that many views on a video yet to be able to do it, and I don't want to get the views by making a satire skit again saying I'm being sued, here's the recipe. I don't want to do that again to get the views for people to be able to see it. I want to be able to tell the truth without having to put some kind of satire thing around it for people to know it. What I know is the grandchildren say they don't have it. My side doesn't have it. One person on Lee's side might have it. I don't have confirmation for it. Joe Leddington sure as hell doesn't have it because what he leaked was obviously fake. Now, whether Josephine's side has it or not, I don't really know for a fact. They might have it. They might not have it. I don't know. I don't know that side of the family very well. All I know is Josephine was alive when before it was Kentucky Fried Chicken, when it was just a Sanders Cafe and Motel. That's what I know. So if her family does have it, so be it. I just get a few comments from her side of the family commenting on my page and other pages bragging about having it. And because of my experience with other people who have done that and have been proved to be liars, or proved to be just making it up, or proved that they're making it up to hold it over someone's head, I just don't believe it myself. I'm going to have to see proof that they're so sure about telling people online about it. If you tell the wrong person, KFC can gag order you, investigate it, because it is their intellectual property, the recipe. Because Colonel Sanders, Uncle Harley, signed it over to John Wiley Brown Jr. and Jack C. Massey in '64. They signed it over to Huelblind. Huelblind signed it over to R.J. Reynolds. R.J. Reynolds signed it over to PepsiCo. And PepsiCo spun off Yum Brands, and they have it. That is the history of it. People who owned the brand before obviously know what's in it. But when you sell off the brand and you got trade secrets, you sign agreements that you're not going to disclose those trade secrets with the world or anybody else. That's why the legal system works the way it does. So bragging about having it, saying that you have it, yada, yada, yada. I have a list of 11 ingredients that is based off of the public information, the sketch drawing, the KFC listing, the similar recipe of 99X's listing, and the differences over the years that we have added together, plus that sketch drawing. Put those together, talk to the family that was there at the time, talk to people that were there at the time, and you get the truth out, and you get a list of 11 herbs and spices. If I see a list that has salt listed as one of the 11, it's fake. If I see a misspell in it and they're claiming it's the Colonel's handwriting and it's not the handwriting and it's misspelled, it's fake. End of it. That's all I have for this video, folks. I just needed to put that out there. People are insisting I say it as a favor that nobody in the Colonel's family has the recipe. People insist that they want people to know it, so people could bug those people who are saying that they have it publicly, and they could deal with that themselves. But I'm pretty sure the list of ingredients that I have is what's in it, because I got it based off of the facts. And I traced it down for 2 years, following all this information, looking at all the fake ones, comparing everything together. And I have contacts with people that the people on the internet that are just trying to figure it out don't have contact with, that I'm able to, narrow it down to. It's like starting a research question. You need to have it where it's broad enough that it's not too broad and it's not too narrow. It needs to be able to be answered yes or no. And you need to be able to have some information for that research question and to be able to explain it with more information that's not overwhelming the reader. And that's what I did. I had a question, I knew some information about it, and I narrowed it down. So I'm no longer going to say nobody in the Colonel's family has the recipe. I'm going to tell you the people who said that they don't have it is the Colonel's grandkids. You quit bothering them. The Sanders side doesn't have it. One person on Lee's side might have it. The rest of that family doesn't even know it. They just know that one person on their side of the family may have it. And as for the Colonel's first wife's family, they insist that they have it, but they're not posting anything else about it. They just insist in the comments, oh, we have the recipe. Okay, whatever. From me, you're going to get information and history. There's just too many people who claim to have it. I made my theory. You can look at the people claiming to have it. You can look at the lies. You can look at all the other copycat recipe videos that are out there. People who are giving credit to my step-cousin that's a liar. He is a liar. We have proven time and time again, every time they comment from that side of the family on my page, that they are liars. We know that for a fact, and not to trust that side of the family of any word that they say. Josephine's side, we don't know. They could be lying, they could be telling the truth. I don't know. But they come to my page, and I see them commenting on other things, insisting that they have it. I'm going to think what I think. You can look at those, and you can look at my stuff. My stuff is based off of not knowing anything at first and doing research, and then having the sources to back up what I say. The sources of what I'm saying are backed up, factual. You could check them yourselves. So you could either look at that and trust that, or you could try to trust the people that are claiming to have it with no source or facts behind it. You can do all that stuff, whatever. Glenn and Friends is the only one on the internet that I've seen that actually did his research. He came very close to what I have for a recipe. The thing about free speech, anybody could post anything that they want. You can post about anything you want on the internet, true or false. What you got to do is evaluate the source. Are they an expert in the field that they're talking about? Is it on a reputable website that you're watching it on? Is the person biased? Does the source show their other source? Do they cite their other sources? Those are all things you got to look at to believe it, because anybody could go, just like Joe could say, oh, I'm in the family, here's the recipe. Oh, I knew the Colonel, here's the recipe. Anybody could say it. Anybody could post anything fake. So you got to evaluate your sources and determine from there. In reality, it's up to the viewer, you, whether you want to believe me, Joe, the Kings, the Prices, the Leddingtons, whatever. It's up to the viewer if you want to believe them or not. But I could tell you for a fact that my page, you will get cited sources for where you get receipts for where I get my information from. Whether that's family, franchisees, history books, documentaries, videos, audio recordings, talking with people, whoever it is, you know that I will show you my sources. Not just because I'm in the family and I can do that, but because it's the right thing to do when you're making claims like this. I can't make any claims other than I'm related to the Colonel. And I'm very fascinated by the history. I'm very passionate about it. I have made myself an expert in the field. You could have all kinds of people in the Colonel's family. Not everybody's going to be an expert in it. Okay. I've been rambling on. This is it for my video. Ciao, folks.